So if you have got 1 acre, you have got 10 children, and you divide again, what will happen? Now, some of us who have been like John the Baptist, making noise. From the 1960s, we have been making noise. You people, be careful. Now, by the time we came back from fighting, 1986, I could see that the situation was getting out of hand. That's why, therefore, after the short period of stabilization, I started the campaign in the cattle corridor, Nyabushozi area, about wealth creation. I started with those people there. And for them, I was telling them, you people, you are busy with the indigenous cows, which are not, those indigenous cows are very precious if they are properly selected. But at that time, they were not selected properly. They were mixed. Many of them would give little milk. They were high milkers, but they had not been identified. We have identified them now. I have got Ankole cows which milk as much as the European cows and even better. But at that time, they were not yet sorted out. So that's how I made the Chibaro Chura in Luo. I said, you people, if you have got 4 acres and less, you should use intensive agriculture, where you use a small piece of land, but you select enterprises that will give you good money, even if you do them on a small scale. And some of the fields are from maize. You, of 4 acres, don't go for maize, because you will get poor out of that effort. Let the one with big land be the one to do the maize. The ones with big land do the maize, because we need it. Even for intensive agriculture, we need the maize. We need the cotton. The shirt I'm putting on is cotton from Uganda, from cotton to garment. We need tobacco, the smokers need tobacco. We need the basoga, the chakura gas, ebikado, ebikoijo, sugar cane. Are we going to import sugar? No, we need sugar. Some people produce sugar cane. We needed the indigenous cows that time before we had sorted them out. We needed them for beef, for leather, and so on. But those should be done by people with big land. And we call that extensive agriculture. Now, when I went to Ajumani, Moses Ali's people told me that from 1 acre of cotton, you get 1 million a year. Now, if you have got only 2 acres, or 1 acre like Chakuraga, or like the Bachiga in the Vitereko now, how will you get out of poverty? If you grow cotton and you get 1 million shillings a year, including costs, how will you get out of poverty? It's blindness. You can see people blind during the day. This is what I really find difficult to accept. But we need cotton, and cotton is profitable, but you need to do it on a big scale. 1 million per acre. 10 acres, 10 million. 100 acres, 100 million. 1,000 acres, 1 billion. I can actually get 1 billion from cotton. But I need to do it on a big scale. Tea was among the extensive agriculture crops. And when I went to Kabale, I begged his lordship, Bishop Karisto Rubaramira, say, please, abanako banje, beho muri cyayi. So from the beginning, tea should have been grown by the medium or large scale people, not smaller ones. I don't know whether that is the case now, you will tell me. But now, we have another issue of business which is very clear. And if you read my documents, I am always very careful the 7 things that I recommended were all, I had studied them. Coffee had a global demand, big demand. About 10 years, 20 years ago, it was about 118 million tons demand globally, I think. It's now 160 million tons. The demand of coffee has been growing. That's why I recommended it. It has got good money per acre, but also the demand is big. The milk, the demand is big. When I promote milk, it's big demand globally. Fruits, the global demand is big. Internal demand is there. There's regional demand, but there's also international demand. Fish, the same. All these products among my 7, they are all in big demand internally, regionally, and internationally. So the risks of Okudiba, that things have no market, or the price collapses completely, are much fewer. But of course, business is about demand and supply. If supply exceeds the demand, price will go down. But in some crops, it's worse than in others. So therefore, what happened to tea is that, first of all, global demand for tea, I have it here. Global demand is 6.2 million tons. The production of tea now is 6.6 million tons. So the production is bigger now than demand.
Minister of Agriculture, with guidance from Cabinet, we said we can no longer have a crop policy specific. We will now have a strategy for agriculture, a strategy for animal husbandry, and a strategy for fisheries. And consequently, we passed in Cabinet what we call the agricultural value chain development strategy. So in that strategy, each crop, each enterprise, we describe how to pursue it through, from research to seed, to planting, to harvesting, and post-harvest. So, Your Excellency, what we are doing now, that we have drafted tea management guidelines and regulations, which are before the Attorney General. When they are out, we will bring them to Cabinet. Those regulations will empower our extension staff, because, Your Excellency, when we remove the agencies like UCD and others, we agreed that we empower one regulatory system through the extension system. So we shall empower the district production coordinators and their sub-county staff.
Let me speak in the interest of tea outgrowing. Your Excellency, through government intervention of free tea seedling supply, Uganda's tea industry is dominated by tea outgrowers as opposed to processing factories owning nucleus estates. As a result, more than 70% of Uganda's tea acreage, people grow tea and supply it to factories which they do not own.
So when I talk of value addition, twine ndijo miringo eya majani, and on an important note, are the most expensive. For example, twine green teas, twine white teas, twine black teas, twine yellow teas, and zona eskurgo majani gitu aga kaneria sinesi sagut kinga Uganda. Abahinja bajyaha mukora na nature mwachumanyire kandi mze inchiruza nshobore tinkugamba nkekigambo, we have already done it practically. Ekemwe no shoroma mu kilograms 5 za white tea. Kiremwe ya white tea negura shiringi 240. Ningamba ekinakozireho nyinawo kumpero bujuruzi amajana go twagagurizi.
The tea we are exporting is actually raw processed. This lady, what she's talking about, there are even medicines in tea. So there is more to eat than just drinking, and more to eat than what we are exporting in bulk. We can do more, and we have capacity to do more. Secondly,